Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a story about one single scientific discovery that handed humanity two very different futures. One with limitless, clean energy, and another with total, absolute self-destruction.
I mean, think about that. It's the ultimate two-sided coin, right? A single discovery that holds the key to both our salvation and our complete annihilation. It's just wild.
All right, so where does this all start? Well, you might be surprised. Our journey doesn't begin with a bang, but actually with some quiet curiosity in the labs of 19th century Europe.
So in just a few short years, everything we thought we knew about matter, it was just completely turned on its head. First, you've got these mysterious X-rays, then strange radiation coming from uranium salts. But it was really Marie Curie who changed the whole game. She proved that atoms weren't these solid, stable, unbreakable little balls. No way, they were active, they could decay. And when they did, they released an absolutely immense amount of energy. Just like that, the old world of physics was basically gone.
Okay, so you've got all these scientists in their labs seeing these brand new, strange forces, but nobody really had the big picture. Didn't know why. And that's when a young patent clerk, of all people, was about to drop the theory that would explain, well, everything.
And here it is. In 1905, Albert Einstein publishes this ridiculously simple but absolutely cosmic equation. What it's saying is that mass and energy, they're basically the same thing, just different forms. It suggested that if we could just figure out how to convert even a tiny amount of matter into pure energy, the result wouldn't just be big, it would be explosive.
But here's the thing. For decades, this was just an idea on paper, purely theoretical. And the real irony? Even Einstein himself, the guy who wrote the equation, he didn't think humans would ever actually be able to do it. This incredible power was locked away deep inside the atom's nucleus. And for a long time, nobody had the key.
So how did they find the key? Well, believe it or not, it was completely by accident. It's 1938, you've got these German chemists just blasting uranium with neutrons, and they're getting these totally bizarre results they just can't explain. So they write to their old colleague, the brilliant physicist Lise Meitner, who had just escaped Nazi Germany. And it's on a walk in the snow, of all places, that it suddenly clicks for her. They hadn't just chipped a piece off the atom. No, they had split it right in two, a process she called nuclear fission.
So Meitner and her nephew, they immediately do the math. And what they find is just staggering. The two new pieces of the atom, when you add them up, they're just a little bit lighter than the original uranium atom. A tiny bit of mass hadn't been chipped off, it had just vanished. And where did it go? It was converted directly into pure energy. All of a sudden, Einstein's E equals mz squared wasn't just a theory anymore. It was a terrifying reality.
As you can imagine, the news of this discovery just spread like wildfire through the scientific world. And as physicists everywhere started to really grasp what had happened, one horrifying, terrifying implication became crystal clear to all of them.
See, scientists like Leo Szilard, they realized something crucial, and they realized it fast. When that uranium atom splits, it's not just releasing energy, it's also spitting out a couple of new neutrons. Now, what do those neutrons do? Well, they fly out and they can split other atoms. And when those atoms split, they release more neutrons. You see where this is going, right? They realized you could create a self-sustaining chain reaction, an unstoppable exponential cascade of atomic energy.
And now think about the timing here. It is 1939. World War II is literally breaking out across Europe. The discovery of fission, it happened in Germany, and the brilliant scientists who stayed behind were now working for the Nazi regime. So, for the scientists who had managed to escape, like Szilard, this was their worst nightmare come true. They knew exactly what their former colleagues might be trying to build.
So Szilard knew he had to do something. He had to act. He goes to the world's most famous scientist, Albert Einstein, and convinces him to sign a letter to the President of the United States, Franklin Roosevelt, warning him of this unbelievable new danger. And that letter officially kicked off the atomic race.
And what started out as just a small advisory committee, well, it exploded into the largest, most secret, and most expensive scientific project in the history of the world. It was called the Manhattan Project.
I mean, the scale of this thing was just mind-boggling. They literally built secret cities from scratch. You had a place like Oak Ridge, Tennessee, with a factory so massive it was built just to separate the one rare type of uranium you could use in a bomb. And then way out in the desert at Los Alamos, on top of this isolated mountain,
They gathered the world's greatest scientific minds, and they were all led by one man, the brilliant physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer, with one single goal: design the weapon.
Okay, so fast forward. It's the pre-dawn darkness of July 16, 1945. And the culmination of all that work, all that money, all those minds, a device they just called the Gadget, is sitting on top of a steel tower in the middle of the New Mexico desert.
And when it went off, the explosion was brighter than the sun. It didn't just knock over the steel tower, it vaporized it. It turned the desert sand below it into glass. And it sent that terrifying, iconic mushroom cloud miles into the atmosphere. The power was just unimaginable, equivalent to 20,000 tons of TNT.
And in that moment of incredible scientific triumph, Oppenheimer and the other scientists, they also felt this profound sense of horror. They knew what they had just unleashed on the world. He later recalled that line from Hindu scripture, which just perfectly captured this terrible new reality. The atomic age had officially begun.
So, the war ends, but the genie is now well and truly out of the bottle. And a new dream starts to emerge. What if we could tame this incredible power? What if we could use it not for destruction, but for progress?
The idea itself was actually pretty simple, almost elegant. Instead of an uncontrolled explosive chain reaction, what if you could create a slow, controlled one inside a special container, a reactor? You could then use that immense, steady heat to do something really simple: boil water. That creates steam, the steam spins a turbine, and boom, you've got electricity. This was the whole idea behind President Eisenhower's Atoms for Peace initiative, to create clean, cheap, and basically limitless power for the entire world.
But, you know that two-sided coin? It never went away. On one side, you have the promise of powering our entire civilization with zero carbon emissions. But on the other, you have the ever-present peril of a catastrophic meltdown. And of course, the thousand-year problem of what to do with all that deadly radioactive waste. That tension, that's what still defines the entire debate around nuclear power today.
And that peril, it has never been just a theory. 3 Mile Island, Chernobyl, Fukushima. These aren't just places on a map. Each name is a stark, global reminder of the absolutely catastrophic price we pay when a controlled reaction spins out of control.
So when you step back and look at this whole story, from a simple equation on a piece of paper to a force that can literally shape the destiny of our planet, you realize this is about way more than just physics, isn't it?
It's really a moral tale about us, about humanity. It teaches us a pretty crucial lesson, that great scientific discovery is neutral. The knowledge itself isn't good or evil. It just hands us an incredibly powerful tool with absolutely no instruction manual attached. So we unlocked the power to build and the power to destroy. It's in our hands now. And that fundamental choice between creation and destruction, well, that choice is, and always will be, ours to make.